this is my other hot take, is that I think Greek life should be abolished. I hate it when like a frat has like one gay guy in it and they just point at that guy whenever anyone has any sort of criticism of them or the things they do or the structure. They're like,
quick, someone go get Chris.
Yeah. It's like,
get Chris.
Bring Chris out.
See?
And Chris is like, hey guys. And they're like, look at Chris. Like, we love Chris and we support Chris. And it becomes this...
We suck Chris's dick.
Yeah, it's like...
That's how supportive we are.
We support his nuts, my dude. And the thing is, ultimately, it's like you create this shield of any accountability whatsoever.
But first, a word from our sponsors.
Are you ready for the Unleashed tour, where shamelessness, sexiness, and laughter collide in a hilarious orgy of fun, discovery, and sex edutainment? Embark on a captivating nationwide journey with the Shameless Sex Podcast and an electrifying ensemble of sex educators and sex-positive entertainers as they bring you an unforgettably titillating live experience. Be a part of mesmerizing, entertaining, boundary-pushing acts, shameless sex style. Ever heard of the Slurpee stick shift? Want to learn how to bury your face in her? How about some dirty talk improv or brat taming 101?
Get ready for nonstop laughter as our charismatic hosts and entertainers weave humor into the fabric of this liberating celebration of sexual diversity and freedom. Engage in interactive segments, Q&A sessions, and a chance to connect with like-minded individuals in an inclusive and empowering environment. Listen up, Portland, Chicago, Seattle, we're coming to you. For more information and to get your tickets right now, go to shamelesssex.com and be part of a night that will be fun, educational, sexy, hilarious, and shamelessly unforgettable. Seats are filling up fast, so don't miss out on the most unforgettable show of the year.
Welcome to the Man-Whore Podcast.
Shout out to the nice guys, to the gym bros, to the crypto cucks, and the men who yell, "I'm not yelling at you," in public. This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man-Whore Podcast. Welcome to the show. If you're new, welcome back. If you're not, I am your host, Billy Procida. I host sex-positive conversations here every week. This week I've got on, he'll hate if I call him a TikToker. He'd probably prefer I call him an actor and author, because he is. Kyle Prue is on the show this week. You may recognize Kyle from the Talk Ticks, where he has a series of videos where he gives people ideas on things you can say to piss off men, which led to his book that is coming out soon called How to Piss Off Men. And this was a great conversation. This was fucking delightful. I can't remember last time I had so much fun speaking with another man. I look forward to sharing that conversation with y'all in just a little bit. I don't mind sleeping on the wet spot. That's not me being chivalrous. This isn't me trying to be like good guy, wet spot sleeper. I kind of like it. It's like kind of a nice, warm, damp reminder of what we accomplished together. You know, like, I mean, if I did enough work to make you profusely drench a set of sheets, I am probably a little sweaty myself. I'm probably moist. And I don't know. It's like this. It's like the wet spot is nice. So Saturday, I had my semi-regular Saturday date with divorced MILF. We call her that because she's getting divorced, and I play with her on Saturdays because that's the day that she doesn't have her kids. She's divorced MILF. And she wanted to treat herself to like a little mommy staycation, and she got herself a hotel room for our Saturday encounter. I was like, sweet. She also said I could sleep over. I was like, yo, snuggles? Yo, we could do snuggles? And she's like, yeah, we can do snuggles. I was like, yeah. Fucking love snuggles. And I don't want to get into explicit details of like the sexes that we had. Okay, I don't think that's very important. It is relevant to know that she is a profound squirter. She loses a lot of liquid. There are frequently concerns about dehydration. the amount to which she squirts. She is a easy squirter, and there's always a lot. I'm trying not to be gross for any of Kyle's fans who have shown up for the show. I don't want them to think Man Whore Podcast is dude just doing a slutty sex story. But it's just, this is relevant. She squirts enough that afterwards you kind of want to Google facts about squirting to understand what just happened. Are we all on board? Okay. So there was a lot of that. I'm not going to be gross anymore. There was a lot of that involved. We joked that at some point we're going to need to get new sheets. Because when we're at her place, we're just constantly rotating around various wet spots created. And then when the sheets are full, I go home usually by 7 or 8 o'clock before kids get back from their dads. So, yeah. Hotel sex is awesome because you can have disrespectful disregard for a space. Someone else is going to clean it up. As long as you don't truly damage and break shit, fucking go for it. You have sex on the floor, in a bed, on a chair, the shower. You have sex everywhere in a hotel room because you want to get your money's worth. Honestly, staying in a hotel room with somebody and not having sex all over the place, it's fiscally irresponsible. You're losing money. I'm not going to do again, I don't want to be gross for Kyle's fans, but if you're at a hotel room by yourself, I think the same logic kind of applies, and you all can carry that thread to where it goes. So at one point my refractory periods are getting longer as I get older. So there was just a conversation of, okay, like, you wanna like watch something? I've already finished Bridgerton's seasons. No big deal. She is still working on season 3. Yeah, I'll jump in on an episode or two with you. So, and it's actually kind of fun to, in the latter half of any Bridgerton season, to watch with a lover, because then you can start trying to mimic and recreate the sex that's happening on screen. Like, we got to the carriage scene. I'm not going to do spoilers, but if you've seen, you know what the carriage scene was, and great. And oh, look, another spot. So we get through a couple episodes. It's like 11:45 at night on a Saturday. This is a Saturday at a real hotel. This isn't like a little boutique. This isn't I wouldn't say a Motel 6, because a Motel 6 we wouldn't have had this problem. But this isn't like a small situation. This is a real hotel. They have like an elevator and everything. I pick up the phone to the front desk and I say to the guy, hey, we need, hey, I'm up in room 343. Could you guys send a housekeeper over just to get us some new sheets? We just need some new bedding. We made a bit of a mess. We had an accident. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. I can't. Housekeeping went home at 11 o'clock. We can send them there in the morning. I'm like, oh, that kind of defeats the purpose. We need new bedding now so we can, go to sleep. Can you get somebody to just go bring us the sheets? And he's like, no, because when they leave, they lock up all the sheets. I mean, I know this is Washington Heights, but like, are we really concerned about the staff stealing sheets and pillows? Really? I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like, this is a hotel. Like, we need new sheets. He says, the best I can do for you is I can give you towels. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll get a bunch of fucking towels and we'll laugh about this later. I said, yeah, okay, fine. Can you just send them up to room 343? He says, oh, no. You have to come down and get them. Excuse you? He's like, yeah, I'm at the front desk. I'm the only one here. So I can't leave the front desk to bring them up to you. I refuse to believe that there's no staff on a Saturday night in this big ass hotel. Hotel sex means once we get naked, you don't have to put clothes on again until you leave. What the fuck? I say, no, don't worry about it, buddy. And we just took the towels from the bathroom. We put them down, and I slept on some wet spots. It's fine. I'm a gentleman. So that was bizarre. The Radio Hotel in Washington Heights. Just a heads up, everybody. If you drench your sheets, you just make sure you do it before 11 p.m. Word to the wise. But it was fun. The recipient of this week's Fan Horror Appreciation Moment is Rugby Raymond. Hope you're having a cozy little time enjoying those ad-free episodes. Thank you, Joe, wherever you are, whoever you are, for supporting the Man Horror Podcast on Patreon. Folks, can I get real with you for a moment? Rent is coming up. Have you heard of this thing called the rent? It seems to always be due, and it seems to always be higher than it's supposed to be. Pre-COVID, truly, just before lockdown, the Patreon covered my rent. It covered the utilities. It covered the bills. We have declined since then, and gosh, we really need to pick that back up because renty is due next week. I really could use a cash infusion right now, and of course, my Venmo, Cash Apps, they're always in the schnotes. But on the Patreon, I am offering right now my biggest discount ever for an annual membership. I'm giving 2 months free if you sign up for an annual membership right now, okay? You sign up now for an annual membership. You pay the whole year up front. You get a discount. I don't get a landlord who's mad at me. Those memberships go a real long way towards me as an independent content creator. I know y'all have been hearing a lot more of those, programmatic ads, those kind of YouTube, those like radio commercial type stuff. I would get far more paid if you just gave me $3 a month to enjoy ad-free episodes. So why don't you go do that? Become a member today. Enjoy a slew of great rewards. Maybe join us in the Peep Show. I got, everyone in the Peep Show says I need to be promoting the Peep Show more, but then I always get weird about like promoting my fans' nudes. Cause that's what the Peep Show is. It's just a group chat where we share nudes, gifts, and compliments all day. And it feels a little icky to say, hey, if you want to come see other people's nudes, come join this group. I screen people. But that is a reward if you're in the Patreon. Anyways, folks, they do say in advertising not to do too many asks all at once. You focus on one ask. That is, sign up today for an annual membership. Get 2 months off. Put some bucks in my pocket at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. We are going to get to Kyle in a minute. I swear, I'm going to lead in with a thing. There is a trend over the last few months. I think it started on TikTok where men did not realize they were being trolled by women. Some chick and then more chicks and more people were posting the question, as a woman, would you rather be alone in the woods with a bear or a human man? And a lot of women were responding to the question with, obviously, the bear, which would set off dudes in their comments without fail. Dudes in their comments arguing like, why the bear? Bear is dangerous. Let me explain to you with these 17 reasons why a bear is more dangerous than a human man. Of course, you should want to be stuck in the woods with a man. Here's all my data and my evidence. And because they were taking the question too seriously, / not really thinking through the purpose of the question, fights have been had on the internet over this question. Bear or man, which is more dangerous? It's a way to piss off men, because the point of the question isn't literally which is more dangerous. And honestly, I don't know if I'm even sure what the honest, real, truthful answer to that question is. The point is to get dudes to think about, why on earth would a woman even consider this question? How are men dangerous? Instead of thinking, are men more dangerous? Just how are men dangerous as a whole? Whether or not you think you yourself as a dude is dangerous, how are capital M men dangerous? But if you want to piss off a man who loves replying, and I say this as a reply guy in recovery, pose a question like that and watch men lose their mind. I saw another fun one where a chick was like trolling her boyfriend by asking him like, well, how do you, when you're talking about the NBA, how do you know when you're talking about the WNBA or the MNBA? Which, if you're not a sports person, technically is no MNBA. because she's trying to talk about the difference between men's and women's pro basketball. Men's pro basketball is just the NBA, women's WNBA. Okay, cool. I caught up all the sex nerds who don't watch sports. So she just keeps going, yeah, he's like, well, it's like when you say the NBA, you're talking about the men's one and the WNBA. And she's like, yeah, but like, how do you know when you just say you're talking about pro basketball? Like, how do you know when it's the men's one and the women's one? And he just kept getting like annoyed. Anyways, Kyle Prue is not only our guest this week, but he's also a master of annoying men and also giving women tools to annoy men. He and I recorded this back in February when I was last in Los Angeles. And we clicked, I like to think we clicked really well. We are both dudes who don't really love dudes, who don't really identify as being one of the dudes, and enjoy watching insecure dudes get upset. I don't know. He started a trend on TikTok with things you can say to piss off men. He now has a book coming out in September. Is available for pre-order. Link in the notes. It's called How to Piss Off Men. I don't know. I clicked really well with this dude. I feel like we are both gender traders, and it is just nice to meet another one. We talked on mic for almost 2 hours. And I hung out at his place for like another 45 minutes to an hour after that. We talked so long on mic. There's another 30 to 40 minutes that's going up exclusively on Patreon tomorrow. But he's just a nice, he seems like we both think the whole nice guy thing is bullshit. So I don't want to call him a nice guy. I just want to say he's a pleasant individual, very funny. And I hope you enjoy my conversation coming up soon with Kyle Prue. Enjoy ad-free episodes at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast.
When I hear the vocal feedback, when I hear my own voice, I stop talking. Like I hit a moment where I like slowly trail off because like the millisecond feedback just starts fucking with me. Mm-hmm. I do not want to hear myself talk like while it's happening, you know?
Nice to meet a fellow gender trader.
That's me, man.
Yeah, man.
Are we going? Is this we're rocking?
We're there.
Okay, let's do it.
Sometimes it takes like 10 minutes before they go, were we recording?
Yeah. That's good.
A point.
Yeah, you topple the defenses.
I am a Mark Maron disciple in that way.
Got it. Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, no, we'll find the spot.
So yes, as a sort of fellow gender trader, this is the thing that I wanted to ask you.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, like immediately. Well, I got the request, and I was like, yeah, I'll check this out. And I
get that a lot.
And I was listening, and I was like, well, there's no way this person like is a man who has sex with women. Like I was like, you must be gay if your podcast is called Man Whore. And I pulled it up and I started listening to it, and you like had like mentioned having sex with women, and I was like, oh my God, this is bold. And the question I wanted to ask you is like, do you have bros? Like, do you have like guys, like male friends?
Not really. Like I'm working on it. I want to be in a group chat so bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to be in the group chat where we talk about the game. Which game? I don't know. There's a game on somewhere. I'm sure we can talk about it.
There always is. That's what they need to sort of facilitate their interactions. Because my curiosity about it was, I was like, I can't fathom how you talk about like, you're like hanging out with your bros and they're like, what are you doing this weekend? And you're like, oh, I'm getting like reverse gangbanged. Like how that doesn't immediately like topple the social structure of your male friend group.
Well, it sometimes it's tough with me because like I'll hang out with because my friend groups are like the sex positive weirdos in Bushwick and comics.
Okay. And
a lot of the dude comics are notorious for not getting laid.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Right? And so like I remember I was like in an open mic last year and I'm sitting at the bar and like 3 guys came up to me. I did some jokes about sex party themes because I think they're silly.
Yeah.
Back to school, like, oh yeah, let's remind me of a time when no one wanted to fuck me.
Yeah.
Great.
Whoa. Okay.
So
back to school, it's like a backpack like full of pencil sharpeners and dildos.
Yeah, it's like I did your homework for you. Want to fuck? And she's like, oh yeah, totally. A little later, I am gonna go fuck the jocks.
Oh yeah.
And I'd be like, this feels familiar.
Yeah. She's like, but we're gonna go to prom together.
Totally. I'm not gonna give you a hand job, but like we will take pictures. My date for prom dance with everybody. I think we did like one dance. And
wow.
Because I was too much of of a wuss to be like, let's dance.
Yeah, dude.
But now, so anyways, like, I do that and they all come up to me afterwards. Like, can we ask you about fuck parties?
Yeah.
And I think, what's nice about the sex pos weirdos is everyone's getting laid. So like everyone's acts like they've been there.
Yeah.
Around some comics, sometimes they have a lot of questions and I'm happy to answer them. But it's just, it's as if they're like, whoa, like sex? Tell us about it.
One of the things that I thought was, because like I was like reading about your podcast and it was like sex positive conversations. And for a minute I was like, is this just guys having sex positive conversations? Because I was like, straight men have always been sex positive. But then I thought about it and I was like, I actually don't think that's the case. Nope. I think that like the majority of like the straight men I know are terrified of sex and sexuality in general and terrified of having conversations about it. Yep. So you might just like by virtue of your like personal brand and your interests be a little bit of like a like mental emotional danger zone, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like when I do have like other straight guys on the show, I try to have them on. I do think sometimes it's either I know he's like-minded or we do kind of end up in this world where he's got a lot of questions and maybe we explore something a little deeper. But a lot of guys don't want to get too deep, so because it's like gay or something. And so it's hard for me to make friends because all I know how to do is have deep conversations or talk about the game. That's all I know how to do.
Well, listen, you are perfectly built and qualified to be a podcaster. You know what I mean? Like shit, all I can do is get to the heart of a matter. It's like, well, you're in the career you should be in.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get guy friends. Sometimes I have a real good conversation with a guy on the show and I have to like check myself on boundaries, be like, we just did a podcast, we're not best friends now.
You're like liking all his Instagram stories and like
man, you want to hang out, you want to go to a Liberty game? Oh right, because that's girls shooting
should we go to Europe? I hear Copenhagen is like the spot.
Well, do you have guy friends?
Not the traditional kind. I have sort of like male to male ambassadors.
What's that?
So like the majority of my friends I know from acting school or theater school or improv. Like all my friends are like all my guy friends are like bisexual, like socialists. But then everyone like my brother is a like dude. Man, like he's a real man, and all his friends are men. And so I can, through him, interact with all of his friends, and those guys are, I would say, my friends. But I would never hang out with them, just me and them.
Right.
And, I have before, it's interesting because my brother's had the same friends since he was in high school. It's for the fire I started when you got here.
So you said another negative thing about men and they came rushing.
Yeah. The firefighters here fucking hate me.
That's going the right way. Okay.
So my brother's had the same friend since high school.
Okay.
Since he was like 14, and he's 29 now.
Yeah.
And he's kicking it with the same dudes, and they hang out every week.
I'm so envious of that.
It's unfathomable to me.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how they have sort of changed, like socially, mentally, like, and there's variations of like how much I can get with it, But yeah, I think to answer your question is, I mean, clearly I have some kind of complication with the general male population.
Yeah.
Every time I go on a podcast, somebody asks me, they're like, you hate your dad. They're like, you hate your dad, right? And the answer is actually no. And whenever
you hate your other dad.
I hate my other dad. I hate both my dads. The issue is that my dad... when I was growing up, was so non-toxic and so good at self-deprecating humor that when I encountered fragile men, I found myself disgusted by them because I couldn't understand why they were always making everything such a big fucking deal.
What's like an example of that?
So my dad would always say my dad was really smart at this, and I sometimes do this on TikTok even a little bit, which was he was like, I will always turn the insult or the the hard thing against myself. And that's an easier way to have an interaction than to make fun of somebody else. And it was so interesting to me to like meet men who like couldn't take jokes, like couldn't handle comedy, like would take things like right to the core instantly. And it was very David Attenborough. Like when I was like in middle school, I was like watching these like men, like I felt like completely estranged from them because I hadn't been prepared for men with like really brittle egos. Because my dad was just always like even like actively pushing to be like the butt of the joke. Which, I mean, it's a smart thing to do. You know what I mean? When I was in college, I was a theater major, and so I went to acting school. And in my junior year, they would do this thing which was called the dinner party assignment. And so my acting teacher would come in, and he'd be like, "Here are your groups of like 3 different groups, and it's a group of other kids in your class." And he would say, "Go have a dinner party. And after the dinner party's over, call me, and I'll tell you what your next instruction is. But just go have a dinner party."
Okay.
This was for our Chekhov class, Russian playwright who's all about the minutia of small human behavior.
Okay.
Like, he's very much like Chekhov. You're just like watching people have a very subtextual conversation. They're like, "Wow, the house is cold," and they really mean like we're getting a divorce.
Sounds like Seinfeld-y.
It's Seinfeld before Seinfeld. It's like proto-Russian Seinfeld.
Okay.
And that's a great way to put it. Trademarked. And so we have this dinner party, and I get like pretty drunk. And so we call him at the end of the dinner party, like, "We did it." And he goes, "Okay, great. Write down everything that happened. You're going to come in to class in a few days, and you're going to perform your dinner party for us in as much perfect detail as you can. And we are going to assess your social dynamics." And it's really, really fucking crazy. It's really interesting. So like my friend Ted at one point stands up and goes like, "Let's all go in the other room." And my teacher goes, "Why does Ted say let's go in the other room?" And we're all kind of like, we don't know. And he's like, "It's because he's not getting any attention. He's trying to reorient his place in the space by choosing the next place where everyone's going to go." He feels small. He's trying to get, and this is like we're playing ourselves here. And he said, "Who has the lowest status at the dinner party? Like who is the lowest status person here?"
Did y'all have a fight over that?
It's
No, it's me.
No,
it's me.
Yeah, it's like I'm the fucking weasel of the group. And someone was like, "It's Kyle," and he was like, "Why is it Kyle?" And the classmate was like, "Well, he got too drunk. Like he is the lowest status person there. Everyone's making fun of him." And my professor said, "I actually don't think that's true. I think Kyle's not as drunk as he's pretending to be. Oh. I think he's pulling focus by letting people make fun of something that he's not insecure about." And that is how he's acquiring status within this like social dynamic.
Because you can you're showing that you can take jokes.
So like you're consuming the jokes, you're showing things don't bother you. Like I don't care if someone's making fun of me for being too drunk. And it's really interesting because you are seeing like an academic analysis of the way that you interact in your very real life. But I think like that was true. I was like, "Oh yeah, like I am really comfortable getting made fun of." And that's sort of been my like comedic ethos like since then.
Right.
I remember very vividly when I was in high school, I was hanging out with a group of friends, and it was like 5 like women, you know, and we were all hanging out at like this girl Abby's house, and we were having like a great time, and it was so fun. And I was like, "Oh my God, like I'm having like a blast." And Abby's dad comes out, and he keeps walking through the living room, just like over and over and over and over again. And I didn't really think anything of it. But Abby was like, "Dad, you can go to bed. We're fine. We're chilling." And he was like, "Oh, you know, no, I don't think I can." And I was like, "It's because I'm here."
Yeah.
And I was kidding. I was like, "It's because I'm here." And he goes,
like,
yeah. And I remember being like, "All right." Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I think one of the things...
It's like you're reminded that you're a boy.
Absolutely. And I think...
You don't
like,
even think about that.
One of the things you have to accept because of the way, you know, like, culture is or whatever, it doesn't matter how strong your like female friendships are, you are not one of the girls, especially if you have sex with women.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I was like driving home and I was like, damn, that like dad was awake for like 3 extra hours because he was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, like there is a like a line of what you can, you know, like reasonably like engage in your like male female friendships. But yeah, I have not felt like, I also have not felt like drawn to go become one of the guys, you know?
Yeah, like I would like to have a group of guy friends, but then I think about like, man, it's like I can't. How many guy friends can I think of that I would want to hang out with who like are like minded? You know, it's like that because then it's like, is this like dating dudes? Is like you got to find a dude who's not going to be totally terrible.
Yeah, it's hard, and the thing about guys is they'll surprise you. You know,
all of a sudden he says some shit, and you'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, like one night you're too drunk, and you're like, "Oh shit, I'm with the like the you know the Panther." Like,
all of a sudden they just go like, you know, I think some of them they're lying. You know, when they say,
yeah. Like, and it's tough because it's hard to be put into a place where you're like, I am either going to educate this person. Or I am going to never speak to this person again. You know what I mean? Like you're like I.
That sounds like the male to male ambassador role. You kind of
sort of
with.
Yeah. It's like I think like I sometimes make a cost benefit analysis when I'm like with a guy and he says something and I'm like, this would be a great teaching moment. But I do a little thing where I'm like, is it worth this person never talking to me again, or is it worth ruining this party?
Is there a chance of success here?
Yeah. Like, am I going to ruin this party and this person is just going to like deepen their belief in their problematic thing because they got embarrassed in front of people? So it's just a lot of like mental gymnastics that you have to kind of handle.
Yeah, it's weird having principles and then thinking like, well, you know, am I bad for like not always shouting? And I think we saw this in COVID. Like, you know, there was a period of time where just everyone was really ready to shout how right they were. Yeah. And it wasn't going to do anything, but everyone could now see how right of the opinion that they had or whatever, you know? I get this at it's sporting event. I know it keeps coming back to sports.
Yeah, you love sports, dude.
It's really only football, to be honest. Well, football and derby. And this is where I'm going
derby?
With it. Roller derby.
Okay, not what I thought you were going to say.
Women's roller derby is my like second favorite sport to go watch.
That's so masculine of you.
Well, it's crazy. Well, because here's the great thing. It's like, because I remember like I was like hearing about it like years back. I ended up doing an episode where I reached out to the New York Derby League. I was like, do you have anyone who's like media friendly? I'd love to talk about like, because I think that when I think women in sports, like I kind of jumped. I think I have no like more feminine badass sport than derby, because all the other sports like they almost kind of automatically get compared to their male countertype. Totally. Like I have no interest in seeing male derby.
I don't. Is there a male derby?
Technically, in some places,
okay.
But like you know, so. When I go to, and now I'm a fan. Once I went to my first bout, I was like, this is awesome. It's usually, at least the one I go to, like, it's pretty queer women led. You can see it and feel it in the audience. Like, the crowd is like not a bunch of bros. The beer is cheap. You feel like you're being supportive by spending money here.
Yeah.
And what's nice is when I'm in the stands at a derby bout, I am not worried about what I'm going to hear behind me.
Totally.
At a Jets game, I got to let some shit slide.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, this is like the things I hear. I gotta just shut the fuck up and look forward.
I spent the majority of my life like growing up in Florida. And not in like cool Florida. And when I got to college in my like acting program, there were a lot of like words and like social like values and principles that I had to catch up on like ASAP.
Yeah.
Because I went to, Michigan, very diverse program, very with it. And I was from Florida, and so the really great advice that I got from a friend of mine, maybe like a few weeks in, was we were having a conversation about the term powwow to like represent like a meeting. And so I had said, like, let's have a powwow. And my friend Gian said, we're not supposed to use that term. That's like an appropriation of a Native American, thing. And I went, my first feeling was, I was like, oh, well, I didn't like, and he was like, I'm about to give you the best lesson in your whole life right now. And he was like, when someone says something like that, treat it as like a new piece of information that you're learning. Thank the person for teaching you something else and never entrench. Like never die on the hill of like, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah.
By saying like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. You are just sidestepping like the moral complicated question. You're proving that you're willing to learn.
Yeah.
And that is a really fucking hard thing for some people to do.
Yeah.
Like some people are just not willing to say, I did not know that. It destroys relationships and families and but it's ultimately very simple. You know, if you're just like, oh, that's new information. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me.
There's definitely some when you're part of some sort of majority identity group, whether it's like dudes or white people or straight, whatever. Is that I think there's this one people to understand how you meant it instead of just taking in the info.
Yeah,
and not realizing it doesn't matter. Just take it's okay. You're not getting yelled at. Just learn the thing. Go. Even if you disagree, you can still be like, oh, thanks for, you can go home and think like, that was stupid. I don't know if I'm going to always live my life like that. But you can at least not start a fucking thing there.
Totally.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who just want to, I guess they want to be understood and just drop it. A lot of ego involved in it.
I think, and the tough thing is not to like both sides it, but sometimes you are in contact with someone who is a sort of virtue signaler. Like they are looking to prove that you have fucked up. They're looking to prove that you are secretly a like bigoted person. And so like you'll say like
to boost themselves to show how much of a not bigot they are.
You know, like I'm with 20 other people and I say, let's have a powwow, a term I accidentally use. And someone says like, wow, that's a racist term. Did you guys hear that? Kyle said a racist thing. That's when the light clicks on in your head where you're like, I have to protect my identity here. You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, I did, and that's when people start to, you know, like.
It's when a Karen video starts.
That's when the fight happens.
That's when the video starts.
Yeah. And like it's. I remember like there was so much like it was like should I make my like 90-year-old like back in like 2016 it was like should I make my 90-year-old grandparents read White Fragility? And it's like you're not going to make your grandparents do anything. You know, like if your grandparents are problematic, it's they're from a different time and you can call them in, you can, you know, like have a conversation, but you can't like give a 90-year-old person homework that's going to shatter their entire like social societal worldview.
Yeah.
And so I think like in order to prompt a healthy reaction from a person who you're trying to like call in, not call out, you have to come from it also from the angle of like, I'm trying to help you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you'll feel better if you let this go. Yeah.
And there's also, you know, I think this can come into play with men. The whole like, oh, you don't understand what I meant. When we come with the guys who want to make sure everyone knows they're the nice guy, and they sincerely may be, but there's the element of like not wanting to accept that they might be both a nice guy and a bad guy at the same time. So they're always trying to explain away anything that they could just learn from.
I'm excited to talk about this.
Oh, please.
I do not believe that niceness is an inherently good quality. I think that niceness is, in my opinion, actually a dangerous thing. Because if you think about what niceness is, it's an affect that you lay over the things you're actually doing and thinking. You know, it's like, I'm so nice to her.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you mean by that? Like you're like going out of your way to do nice things. I don't think niceness and goodness are like inherently similar. I mean, you're from New York. You know what I mean? Like
we have bad goodness.
Yeah.
So we have mean goodness.
Someone in New York would be like, "Get out of the street, you fucking idiot!" And you're like,
as they pull you out of traffic,
and they save your life, and they walk away, and you're like, "Well, that person wasn't nice," and it's like, "Well, you're alive, you fucking loser." Like it's
And then on the flip, you have the Republicans who will do the worst things while saying the nicest thing.
Yes, and I mean, like, that is the thing that like fucking lights me up more than anything else, is when people use civility and niceness as a shield for doing the worst thing imaginable. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, don't protest. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh God, don't protest. Like, it's like, oh, we've cut food stamps to your neighborhood and you're all going to starve. But like, God, show some decorum.
Yeah, can you just have a nice protest?
Yeah, it's like, be nice. And it's like, niceness is absolutely a privilege. And so when guys talk about how nice they are, I fucking like immediately start like honing in on them. Like,
but you also seem to have to keep in check what you just described before of like, if you're going to choose to even have an interaction about it with them, how, keeping it like, reel it in, extend a hand versus throwing a punch.
Well, and this is the thing that in the sort of like How to Piss Off Men book, what I talk about like a lot is the idea of how to have a conversation with a man that doesn't immediately like, where you don't immediately reveal yourself to be an enemy. Because the book is mainly predicated on questions. The idea is, can you lead someone to an idea that will dismantle something?
Socratic method.
Yeah. Dude, I love the Socratic method. Like, I think, like, if a guy's just like, I'm a really nice guy, and she doesn't see that.
And that's why I hit her.
Yeah. Well, no, like, it's like, you're like, do you think your niceness earns you something? And they say, well, like, yes, I think like nice people should be rewarded. And I'm like, are you nice if you're being rewarded for it? If it's a transaction, isn't that just like a transactional thing that you're doing? And they could say no, and like they might get pissed off, but when they go home, they're going to be like, shit, does it? You know, like, I think you can only lead someone to the truth by like reverse engineering what the next thought should be. Because if you say you're not a nice guy, you're just trying to fuck that person, like, they're like, no, like that's my friend. But if you're like, what do you think your niceness is earning you, and would you be nice if it didn't earn you that? You know, like, I think, like, then they go home and they're like, damn, I might just really be just trying to fuck this person.
There's also this little side angle of, the people's views and shame or whatever attitudes they have about sex and sexuality and desires. They go like, I'm not trying to fuck her, she's my friend, even though they are trying to fuck her. And it might be okay that you want to fuck your friend, depending how you're going about it. But there's also this, as soon as like it's like the curtains being revealed that like they might want to fuck their friend, they instantly go like, no, never. You know, it's like, but it might be okay. Relax. Let's just talk about it.
I think this is another thing too. It's the person-to-person interactions with dating and sexuality are a fucking minefield. Because on one side, we have just people doing the most heinous, awful shit you can imagine, like absolute like abuse, like devastation, deception. And then on the other hand, you have a group of people who are overanalyzing everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
and the nice guys. So many of that is like, so many nice guys are doing that and getting frustrated because it's not a sexy quality, and so they're going like, I'm not getting laid, and I'm nervous about getting laid, and I'm trying to, but I'm also trying to be nice while I do it. And at some point, I think some dudes just get frustrated, go like, why am I not getting laid?
Yeah, and honestly, like, if I were to talk to like a 16-year-old and they were like, how do I get laid?
Oh gosh,
my answer, 10 out of 10 times, 100 out of 100 times would be like, stop trying to get laid.
That's what I've been saying for years, man.
Yeah. Like if you
want to be friends?
Yeah, we're friends now. This is it. We've done it. We do it. Let's go see the Derby game. The thing is that, like, if you are like, oh man, like I like, women hate desperation.
Yep.
Like, I have like, I have like, like younger cousins and stuff, and I'm like, and they're like, if they ever ask for like girl advice, I'm like, here's my girl advice: stop thinking about girls. Go get really, really good at one thing, and you will find people who want to be with you. Like, if you go and you just get incredible at like baseball or fucking tap dance or writing or like flying a kite, it does not matter what it is. If you become really, really, really good at something, people will admire the qualities of like drive and focus and the things that it takes to make those happen. And people see like good partnership involved in that.
Yeah.
But dudes who are like, I'm trying to like fuck right now, they might figure it out, but they'll figure it out through the worst possible processes and yeah,
those are the guys who are relying on a volume game to like get a certain level of success with that, but it's never sustainable. And I just say like, I've always said, stop trying to get laid, treat him like a human.
Yeah.
And I think you can talk to someone that you're interested in, not be having an attitude of like, I'm trying to fuck you right now. Without asexualizing yourself, because I think that's where the people who are. I used to be one of those more nervous types where it was you then kind of desexualize yourself in an attempt to be nice, but that's not attractive either, and that's why sometimes they fuck the bad boy who doesn't treat him well, but is like being a little bit more overt. But there's this finesse to it, and I don't know. I see it right now. I've been like talking to a lot of incel dudes on Twitter.
Oh, really?
I've been trying to have that patience.
Sure.
Yeah, because I feel like some people are lost in a rabbit hole of misogyny, and there's some who I think are reachable.
Yeah,
and they Googled the same thing I did when I was 17, 18, 19, which is how to talk to girls, and they just clicked a different link.
Yeah,
and like I found Dan Savage, and they found Red Pill.
Well, and dude, honestly, something that we find over and over and over again throughout history is that if you're trying to radicalize someone into like a fascist ideology or an alt-right ideology, what they do first is turn them against women. So like the reason why incels become these like alt-right monsters is because these talking heads know for a fact that if they can turn them against women who they are, like sort of like scorned by, then they can make them do anything.
Yeah.
And so if you can pull somebody out of the pipeline at that moment, then you can like save their whole fucking life. Because if they don't turn against women, then they will listen to reason. They'll, like they can deprogram and change.
It seems like your early influence on not being this fragile male came from your dad. Where do you think your first introduction to like these views on women and masculinity kind of came from? Where do you think your early influences were?
That's a good question. I always knew that I wasn't one of the guys. Like, it was just always clear to me. Like, I started theater, like, age 6, and it was just obvious to me that there was nothing I could do to turn it around. I remember when I was in middle school, my parents came to the parent-teacher conference, and my, like, history professor or something like that was like, he's going to have a really hard time. And they were like, what do you mean? Like, he's going to have a hard time how? Like, are his grades bad? And he was like, no, his grades are great. He cares about things that these other kids don't give a fuck about. And he can't talk to them because they can't talk about it back. And that's not to be like I was a genius. Like, what it was is that, like, when I was in middle school, like, I could not stop thinking about the environment. And I, like, was just like fighting kids like all the time, and it just was clear to me it was never going to work. You know what I mean? Like I was never going to be able to code switch hard enough to be able to like really make it work. And then I think like, I was blessed to like, be in friendships with women who like believed in me enough to teach me things.
Yeah. Ditto.
And I remember like in college, like before I grew up, like being so emotional and having like a tough time, like, like figuring out like how do I be the best person I can be? You know what I mean? Which eventually turned into people pleasing. Like I never wanted to have the wrong opinion. I never wanted anyone to dislike me because I was in like a class of theater people who all had learned the right words to say but their actions never reflected the thing.
And you're late 20s, mid 20s right now?
Early 20s.
Right now.
Right now,
yeah.
I'm
what are you?
27.
You're 27. Okay, just frame reference.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
Like 5 years ago.
Okay.
So like, like my first 2 months of college, Trump got elected. And like the cultural shit that we had going on at Michigan was like, you better say the right shit all the time. You know what I mean? Like
that was such a pinpointed time of like outrage culture, because
like
it was the years like it was like right after the early years of people like had access to the like a Twitter, and now people had a voice to like shout about what's been pissing them off for so long.
Yeah.
And then and it sounds like right before Me Too really hits hard. And so like that was a time of, if you're a guy, if you're any sort of majority identity, it's like you were on notice.
Yeah, and
not like what was us,
totally.
but just
I mean, like, and I was like a tall white dude. You know what I mean?
And
like,
trying not to hurt anybody,
right?
Because you're so tall.
Right,
I don't want to step on anybody.
Right. It was like I was just like when the whole Trump thing happened, I was like, here's my fucking voting stub. Like, here's my fucking email. Here's my sticker.
Brought my papers.
Like when like Me Too was going on. That was also when I was in college. I was like, here are my references. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was so, and I think those things on some level are good. But I was responding to a certain sort of like cultural ethos, like a very specific cultural moment that was happening in a very, very intense place. And what I started to realize as time went on in this program was that there were a lot of people who had learned the right words and would say the right words in public and then would do the worst thing I had ever seen. Yeah. And I remember seeing that and being like, and like realizing I needed to put some distance in. Mm-hmm. Like I realized that this was that a lot of the people around me had developed the tools of not niceness, but like appropriateness. You know what I mean? Like, there were dudes who were like using and abusing women who were able to quote bell hooks, who were able to blank, blank, blank. And when I started to realize that was the case, I put a lot of space in, you know, because I realized that I might be getting sucked into a sort of dangerous point of view. Yeah, which was just, you know, the virtue signal Olympics, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, now I try to have, you know, I don't try to have the right opinions. I have the opinions that I have, and I listen to people who tell me otherwise, who, you know, who feel a specific way. And, but I don't feel the need to say anything to just like appease any person, you know? Luckily I feel like I've stumbled into the, you know, I think like socially conscious, you know, decision. So it hasn't, like, I haven't had to stand up for any of my, you know, like beliefs. But I do think niceness in general should be abolished. I think that's probably my hottest take.
Okay. Ban nice. What something I'm hearing with you, which I think I can relate to, and that at the core of it was like empathy. You just,
totally.
And to what like the history teacher said, you care.
Yeah.
And like that is not like a guy thing to do, is to care.
Well, and I think like I have this thought all the time when it comes to like trans issues.
Okay.
It's like I do not think you get to have an opinion if you don't know a trans person. If you do not interact with a trans person, then you don't get to fucking do this. Like, you don't get to come in and like have an opinion on it, because like, where is your information coming from? If I had like never met a black person in my entire life and started to try and like, you know, like affect like, you know, like housing policy, like, it'd be like that's fucking unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't understand the experience. And so I think my benefit with the internet is that it's been able to connect me to all kinds of people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to listen to people who like have the identities that the conversations are about.
But it's not because you were a theater kid. Like, you were also kind of surrounded by these identities at a young age, which is so important. And there are guys who will say, no, I got chick friends, but those women won't talk to them about the things that they maybe talk to me about because they don't sense the care.
And it's like, are those your friends, or are your relationships like completely and absolutely conditional based on the fact that they reaffirm you? Something that makes me go absolutely fucking crazy. I have like this is my other hot take, is that I think Greek life should be abolished. I think it's like an abuser protection service.
Okay.
If anyone was in Greek life, I'm not coming for anyone individually. If you participate in a system, you are a victim of that system. But I hate it when like a frat has like one gay guy in it, and they're like pretend, or they're not even pretend supportive. They're supportive, and they just point at that guy whenever anyone has any sort of criticism of them or the things they do or the structure. They're like,
quick, someone go get Chris.
Yeah. It's like,
Chris.
Bring Chris out.
See?
And Chris is like, hey guys. And they're like, look at Chris. Like, we love Chris and we support Chris. And it becomes this.
We suck Chris's dick.
Yeah, it's like
that's how supportive we are.
We support his nuts, my dude. Like, and the thing is that, like, ultimately, it's like you create this shield of any accountability whatsoever. It's like, oh, like I'd like to talk about some of the structural issues with frats as like in the way in which they treat like young women who are just coming into college, and it's like, I don't think Chris is going to want to hear about that. You know what I mean? Like I hate it when people tokenize. So like sometimes it's like, oh, I have chick friends. Like I have, which is even, I'm like, I'm nervous about you already. If you're like, I have chick friends, but like it's like, oh yeah, like my friends are like, I have women friends. I have friends who are women, and it's like, are they really your friends? Like, do you support them no matter like what they say and their issues, their struggles? Like, how do you vote on reproductive rights? You know what I mean? Like,
have they chosen to open up to you about sexual harassment at work?
Yeah. And I think a lot of guys are like, I have like friends who are women, and those women are afraid of them. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, I have this thing that pops up in my relationships a lot. I have this policy for everybody in my life, and I tell people this as needed. And here's the policy. The policy is you are never responsible for how you feel. I will never hold how you feel against you, ever. If you are angry about something and like if you are sad, like if whatever it is, like, you know, like, and this is very much the thing, like guys are like, I can't tell her that I'm attracted to her. It's like the way that you feel is not your responsibility. You're not in control of that. Everything that you do is on you. You can never, ever justify your actions with your feelings.
Yeah.
If you say, like, I'm sorry I did that, I was just so mad, I don't accept it. Your actions are 100% your responsibility. And so I think so many times men are saying, I feel this way about my friends who are women, and my actions are blank, and the actions are completely disconnected from the things that they feel and from the things that they say. And it's spooky, you know?
And again, that's why we kind of get to like, oh, and that's like, do I even want to be do I want those friends? It's like the guy friends I want are like me trying to multiply like one or two dudes I know and trying to multiply them into 12.
Yeah.
And be like, if I can get like 12 Bretts, I think I'd be all right.
We're fucking hitting the clubs.
Brett
like,
Raybould, sweet boy.
Well, and like, here's the thing: is like I see it. Like I see six guys like hanging out and having like such a fun time together, and I'm like, fuck, that does seem kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
you're like, what are they talking about? Like, would I find this nice to be in with?
Yeah.
But I know it's possible because I go to a group therapy for the last like 5 years. I've been going to group therapy with it's men roughly my age range. I think I'm like the oldest in the group, but it's like my age range. I've been seeing them all since I was like 27, 28 years old. Basically every Thursday I've been talking to these guys about, and we open up and we're talking about emotions and feelings and our fathers and do we want to be fathers and relationships with women and all that. And so like these guys, we could be in a group chat. I'd be in group chat with these guys.
Totally.
But to find those, but it's a rule of group that we're not allowed to hang out outside a group, which I don't like because I go like,
fucking funny,
right? One time I almost quit group because I was like, I think I want to hang out with Jay more because he lives in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
We'd hang and because we're both kind of like slutty but socially conscious
This is kind
dudes.
of like, I love the idea that you're like having an affair with your guy in the group, like not like a real affair, but like an affair isn't like you're hanging out and no one can know.
If Jay and I would hang out, he's also in the arts. So if like Jay and I were to hang out and on the side, like it would be like an issue if like 2 months later, like it came out in group because someone let it slip.
Yeah.
the therapist Lee, he already feels uncomfortable that like a little bit that we walk to the subway together because we're all kind of walking to Union Square. It's the same 2 blocks.
Yeah.
So we tend to carry on some of the convo and he's like, okay, interesting.
It's weird. It's weird to me in my mind, the level of like sexual fraughtness that's involved. Like the idea of like the tension of it's like you're like going to the subway. It's like, what are you going to do tonight? And it's like, I'm gonna go just grab a drink. And you're like, cool. You have like friend lust that you can't act on.
Yeah,
this is your forbidden garden. This is your tree of knowledge.
So having, the very public views that you have, what is it like to date as you? Like, do you feel like you have to pull back because you don't want them to think you're virtue signaling, or like?
So that's a great question. Yes,
because that's an archetype of guy.
Absolutely,
you kind of described him before. So you don't want to be too conscious.
Yes.
That's why I'm like, I always like to sprinkle just enough dirtbag on top of myself, so I can be like, I'm a little rough around. Just
It's a tough balance to strike because you're like, because I want to be like I am a socially progressive person. You know what I mean? Like, and it's tough, but like here's the rule. I will always defer to the personal experience of the person I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a black person, I am never going to tell them anything about race in America. Like, I'm never going to try to explain anything about race in America to them because they get it. And they get it at a level that I will never.
Sure.
And so also at the same time, I never want to explain things to women. Like, I never want to explain gender to women. I never want to, And I think the thing that is hard is when I'm dating someone and I perceive something that I think is, oh boy, how to put this? I see a woman do something that I think maybe is antithetical to the movement of feminism, and it's tough because like
on a date. Or just like in the wild,
or I'm not like uptight, you know what I mean? Like but like someone will maybe talk about participating in a I dated this girl who once talked about like she was like, oh god, my god, like all of my friends for college were Republicans. And I'm like, oh, like in my mind, I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like she's like talking about the kind of places that she was like, involved in, and all of her friends voted for Trump and like blank, 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 blank. And she's like, so I don't really talk to those people anymore. And I'm like, great. In my mind, I'm like, good. And then she's like, yeah, but I am so nostalgic for that time. And I'm like, what are you nostalgic about? Like, who are you nostalgic? Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's tough because like, I do not want to watchdog a woman, but I'm like, those people are selling you out. You realize that, right? Like,
which time was she misses college hanging out with them?
Yeah.
Before the Trump shit? Okay.
And no, like during the Trump shit.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because I think I have a partner currently, and I think the thing that I like about being with my partner is I feel like that we are educating each other and we're good at that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's very hard to like staunchly hold these beliefs because it's like, to me it's not a part of like it's not something I'm doing to meet people.
Yeah.
It's not like it's an ideal set, like it's a value set. And sometimes I'm just like, we got to pull back, you know what I mean? Because like if you over explain things to people, or you like, like you get too high on your like, progressive horse, then you hit moments where people are like, I don't trust this, and good, they should not, because the most dangerous motherfuckers in the world are the people who learned all the right words and are using them to manipulate people.
Oh yeah, the fucking Patton Oswalt had a great bit about that.
Yeah.
Quite a few specials ago, like maybe 6-7 years back, and he does like 2 act outs, and it's one guy who's saying all like words we're kind of not supposed to say, but what he is saying is very good and right.
Totally.
But then, and there's a person who's like saying all the correct terminology, but what he's actually trying to say is that like straight people should be the like biological imperative politically. And it was like, whoa, and
and here's the thing. One of the things they say is don't send narcissists to therapy, because narcissists will go into therapy, learn all the right words, and then just kill you with them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this was very much the Jonah Hill thing. He was like, I'm setting a healthy boundary where you don't talk to any other man. And it's like, it's a misuse of the term boundary, but like, this is clearly a person who has figured out the right words and is weaponizing them. And so yeah, like there's always stuff that goes on Twitter, like where women are like, oh, why can't I find like a socially progressive leftist man? And people are like, yo, listen, like, go find someone whose value set like aligns with yours. Be motherfucking careful that you don't stumble upon someone who has like almost like learn to parrot the right, like literature and language.
Instead, go with like a comedian who occasionally tells dark jokes about suicide. Come on.
Right.
That's
we've all thought about it.
Whatever the opposite of virtue signaling is, that's what I feel like I try to do.
Yeah.
To go like I'm not going to say I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to make sure everyone knows I'm not a great guy, just so you can trust it.
Yeah. I also try to lean in the other direction.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like when I first started How to Piss Off Men, I got nervous because a lot of like women were like, finally, a good man. Like, you know what I mean? Like this happened to John Mulaney where everyone was like, finally, a good man. Like finally, this is the only man I trust.
You kind of got his haircut.
This is, yeah.
You got his whole like facial bone structure going on. They just put a different face on it.
It's crazy, like so much so soon, because I was doing something that was sort of like poking fun at men.
Yeah.
People were like, this is our guy, and he could never do anything wrong. And my thought process was, I was like, I've fucked up before. Yeah. I've never done anything horrible. I've never done anything that I wouldn't, like cop to. But I do not want to be adopted by the people who are like, this is a perfect person. Right. You know what I mean?
There's no room to fuck up.
I don't want someone to form a parasocial relationship with me. You know what I mean? Like, and so
good luck with that.
What I started doing, it's over. What I started doing was, for the first couple How to Piss Off Men's, people would lobby criticism at me. And I would immediately take the criticism and I'd be like, that's true.
Yeah.
Like...
what's an example?
So someone was like, this guy's just a pick-me. You realize this is a pick-me. And I ended one video, I was like, if you're making a video right now to call me a pick-me, or if you're writing a comment right now to call me a pick-me, like, you can delete it. I fucking love being a pick-me.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, you realize that this is just a more tolerable, like, manifestation of toxic masculinity. And I was like, to everyone saying that, and then I just went back to doing the video. Like, I just like completely, I was like, maybe. And so I would adopt criticism and like I would make it part of the thing. Yeah. Because I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, this probably is this, and like people were like, he's doing this for clout. And I was like, I am doing this to get fame. Like I was like, I am doing this for the fucking numbers. Yeah. Like, I love women, support women, believe women, but I never wanted it to be the kind of thing where it's like, Kyle's here for women. You know what I mean? Like, and How to Piss Off Men in general is something that has been, is I think loved primarily by women. My audience is 90% women. But for me, what it is like, I love that that's the thing. But I never wanted to be like, I'm here to save you. Yeah. I said
it sounds like you're here to like, hey, I'm here to crack the jokes that you all crack with each other.
Totally.
Maybe would like to hear a dude's voice on it.
Yeah, well, it's like I am a man and I have a brittle spirit, and things people say make me tear up. They're so mean, and it's like, I understand the male brain because I have it. Right. And I can give you the insider track on how to do this. A lot of people were like, why is a man doing How to Piss Off Men? It's because I fucking know what does it, Sure.
And it's like, no one's stopping you from doing it. Go ahead.
Totally.
Go ahead and start your own. Go ahead and do it.
And by the way, there are a lot of people who do it. And sometimes they do my shit like word for word. And that's fine. Because, I made a video where I was like, people ask me if I get mad that people copy my, jokes verbatim. And no, I don't, because they're not jokes. Like, I'm not a comedian. Real. I am a motherfucking menace,
Yeah.
And so but yeah, I mean, it's I don't know where I ended up. I don't
know. It's very interesting to listen to it though. So what are you gonna do when you mess up and get yelled at by the internet?
I'm gonna say I didn't know that. Thank you so much for telling me. That'll be it. And listen.
Did you meet your current partner like after the blow up, or is this like when like you get drafted in the NFL but you have a girlfriend for 4 years already?
No. She like ordered me off TikTok. She was like, I'll take that. It was funny. We went on a date and we like a first date, and then we didn't talk for a year.
Okay. Why?
I joke that the date went so poorly that she moved away, because she just like moved to a different city. But we did not really gel when we met, and I think that's because I had been on a lot of very cool. Been on a lot. You know, I came from Florida to LA and like
we saw the picture by now. We get it. We get it.
The discovery of like dating apps in major cities. I was like, this is fucking crazy. And so like I feel like she's also like a genius, but I think was kind of pretending to be less intelligent than she is because. You know, like with women, that doesn't work well with dating because you just like offend the dude you're talking to because he gets insecure. Yeah. So I was like, damn, there's like, we just didn't have it, you know? And then we just didn't talk for a year. And then she was like coming back on a road trip and we like had dinner together. And I was like, oh, she's awesome. Yeah. And it was, the pressure had left because we were with our other friend and it was like, I am not trying to date you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to pretend to not be you right now. And I don't have to pretend like this is like the third.
Did you say something like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
But like we
this happened.
Yeah,
okay.
It took us a while to hit the communication like moment. I was at the time also I was celibate. I was in a period of celibacy. Sorry.
Remember when we started? I said, "Is there anything you think like you want to give me an elbow?" Be like, "Dude, you just may want to know."
Oh yeah, I was celibate for 5 months, and it was the best thing I ever did.
I feel lied to.
I'm so sorry. I'll lay it out like real quickly. We'll do like a quick bullet point.
I mean, I don't mind if you take your time, but it's your time that I'm taking up, so it's up to you.
What time is it?
It is 4:56.
Okay, yeah, I got it. No, I'm chilling.
Okay.
So you know, I like met her at this dinner, and we were having like such a great time, and she was like, "We're going to a meditation thing after this. Do you want to come?" And I was like. Yeah, sure. I'll go meditate, which I now know was which was like a test to see like if I was like able to, you know what I mean? Like if I was going to be like, man, meditation's fucking like stupid, you know? And so we went, it was like fun. We had a great time. And then like she and I started talking, I had a wedding in the town that she had moved to. Mm-hmm. So I like went through, I like hung out with them and everything. But at the time I was celibate and, we like hung out a good amount, like kind of like as friends.
The first date happened before you started the celibacy, I take it?
Yeah. But then,
right. You said it was like a year.
Passed and everything. Okay. I had gone celibate because I became I was very taken aback by how much sexual dynamics had changed when I got like a little bit of clout. Uh-huh. You know, like the idea that it was like I got a certain amount of followers and then it was like people weren't like trying to decide whether or not they wanted to fuck me. They were trying to fuck me like as soon as possible. Yeah. And I was like, that makes me nervous because like it's like they just want to be able to tell people at brunch like I fucked that guy you sent me that video by, you know.
They won't even say your name. They'll say Kyle Prue and they'll be like, who? It'd be like the How to Piss Off Men guy. Oh,
I was like such a notch in a belt. Like but so and like I like went to Florida for many months and we were still like texting all the time and I went and and I was in New York and she happened to be in New York at the same time and she and I were with like some friends and she has vertigo. Okay. And so it was so hot in New York that she was like, oh, like my friend's apartment doesn't have AC and if it gets too hot, I'm going to have like a vertigo episode. Can I come stay at your hotel with you? And I was like,
smooth.
I was like, yeah, like I was like, smooth. Okay. And I'm like, I know for a fact she like wants me to make a move. Yeah. We get to my hotel, we get in bed together and I'm like, okay, good night. And I go right to sleep. And
does she know that you're celibate?
No. And like, this is like, ever. This to me is like, we laugh about it now, but like, it's funny to me because this like never happens to like really beautiful women. Mm-hmm. Like they like it's very rare. And like, I woke up in the morning and I like hugged her. I had to go to work. And then I went to work and as I was at work, I was like, she's never going to talk to me again. Because I was like, I guarantee you she won't talk to me again because like, how confusing is that? That she like came over to my hotel like in New York and like I just went to sleep. And I came back to the hotel and she was gone like naturally. And she had drawn like a little smiley face on the notepad. And I was like, and we like texted, we kept talking or whatever. And eventually she was like, I'm looking for some clarity. I'm like, what's going on? And I was like, yeah, I'm in a period of celibacy and she accepted it. And I had people who really had not accepted it. And this was like a good test because like when you tell someone you're celibate, you are overcoming a communication barrier. Mm. You know what I mean? You're like, you're able to talk about, you know, like, your reasoning and all that. So I was just sort of like, I was like, listen, I'm celibate because of these reasons, and I like you, I care about you, but if like that's what you want, I can't give it to you right now.
Were you open to dating without the sex, or you were just like,
yeah, totally. Like,
okay, so you were like, hey, heads up,
yeah,
like,
yeah, and I had also like at the same time like a friend of a friend was just like constantly trying to fuck me, and I kept being like, I am celibate. And he just kept like over and over and over being like, you shouldn't be like you're perfect. Like you don't need to like think about that kind of stuff.
you're like, I know, thank you.
Yeah,
so
I was
much.
like, I am. God, you're right. But like, I think like watching the other person like melt down and have the, because like when you tell someone like I'm celibate, you're kind of testing whether or not they're able to hear something that might affect them that's not about them. Mm-hmm. So like with my like current partner, you know, me being like, I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing this, and this might disappoint you, but it's not about you. It's about me. And in doing that, like, and in finding such like comfort there, then that's how I just knew that it worked. You know what I mean? Like,
she didn't freak out. She didn't make it about her. She
totally.
just,
And like,
she was like, I'll take it slow if you want to take it slow.
it's
It's like the plot of a movie, but like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and then like, you know, like when we like hooked up, it felt like so natural and incredible because we were so like, you know, bonded. And
How long into dating did it take for you to finally?
well, here's the thing: is like we were like never really like together. You know what I mean? Like we were just like hanging out a lot, and like we knew that there was this like feeling stuff happening, but like it was never really like quite clear like what it was, you know.
Seemed clear to me. It seemed like she's like, when you're ready, just ring the bell.
Yeah, and I did a lot. And it, you know, and it was great for me to, you know, like have that experience because like my trust issues were through the goddamn roof, and like that was what I needed. And then, you know, there was a time when we broke up. And through the breakup, I found out how she behaves during a breakup. And the way that she behaves during a breakup is very respectful. Never went after me, never hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? Like I hated breakups where I broke up with someone. Like that's why you're fucking. And like, you know, like it's like that's why you like whatever. Like something you told them in like the crux of the most vulnerable moment in your life, and then it turns into a weapon after the relationship. That's what I'm always afraid of.
Yeah.
And the relationship ended, and it was beautiful, and we were still friends, and it was wonderful. And then like one day, I think we got together, and we were like, okay, well, you know what? Like, fuck it. Like, whatever it is, let's just handle it.
And you've been dating like how long now?
Well, there, you know, were troubles and breakups and unbreakups. So,
whatever y'all call it.
Yeah. I think it'll. Let me get back to you on that. I have to crunch some numbers. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can really hard, not to the being like incredibly successful that everybody just wants to fuck me. But I can relate to the, you know, and I think I'm about to do it again probably. Where I went through like some long phases where like in dating I wouldn't fuck somebody on the first encounter. Like I'm down to hook up, fool around, do stuff, but it was like PIV. I was like that. And I'd have to tell women because in college, first round of doing that was like junior, senior year of college, and women would like not be like older women would not be college age women were fine with it because like everyone's trying to fuck me. But, like adult women, like they're like, I don't have time for this bullshit. I have a salary and I don't have like
my eggs are drying up as you're speaking.
I brought you over for a reason. This is like my night to get laid, and you're like denying me that. And I would see some ugly sides of women who couldn't handle because they weren't getting what they wanted, or they took it personally, and they're like, and so. At like 22-ish, I learned, I need to warn women beforehand, like, hey, just a heads up. Like they invite me upstairs. I go like, oh yeah, I want to do stuff, but you know, I just don't want to do that. And that was, again, I could tell if someone was pushy about it. I was like, I don't want to eat you out anymore. Like I was gonna get you off, and now I don't even want to do fucking that because you're being a little rapey about this.
It's like, well, no matter what you've heard, like, and this is like a thing that like, you know, was important, like for me to like say to like, like. Women specifically was like, no matter what you've heard or no matter what like men have told you, like this is intimate for both of us. You know what I mean? Like this is an act of intimacy. Like, and I, you know, I'm going to treat it as such. You know what I mean? And it's like, and if me not like having sex with you is gonna like give you a meltdown, like is gonna like, you know, destroy whatever this is, then it should. You know what I mean? Then we shouldn't talk, you know, like, and good luck finding what you want. But I found it to just be a really, really, really useful exercise.
Yeah. Yes. At first, for me, it was like for the reasons I had. But then eventually I started doing it in part because I was like, I want to see how this woman reacts to it.
Yeah.
And it tells me a lot. I have one question that I think it can be like it might be a short answer. And then I have a couple questions from listeners.
Great.
And I think we can land this plane. And
Let's
thanks.
do it.
We're going longer than I normally do, but I feel like I could talk to you a lot. Are we friends yet, everybody?
Yeah,
okay.
we're friends.
People, can you ship me in the comments?
yeah.
Okay, no. I do answer this however you want, and I'm asking this like from not like maybe a gross explicit place, but like 5 months, no sex. What was it like to finally do that though, after this self-imposed break? How'd that feel?
Yeah, it's felt like good. You know what I mean?
Does it?
Yeah. I mean, like, I think like you're asking if I was like freaked out or like.
No, I just because I've got like I don't think I've ever gone 5. I mean, like,
that's
I'm
such
right now is my time period where like I've been not fucking for long periods, and I would imagine it would be some sort of like, oh my god, finally again.
Like, I mean, like during COVID, there was a time when I was like locked in and I like couldn't have sex with anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I think like it was like I was like, oh, we're back. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, and we're back. But like, I think ultimately, my sort of like process for like, you know, like having sex with new people is like, figuring out what exactly they like, you know, sort of, you know, I'm an orderly guy, you know, like, and I'm intuitive. And so it's like, it's the first, whatever session, like sexual experience is always for me kind of a little bit like, field work almost, you know what I mean? Like,
let me do my research, learn how this body works.
Yeah, let me like it's like I'm gonna figure all this out, and that will be better. Like for
next time will be so much better because you let me do this.
Totally, yeah. And I mean, like, I think, you know, like we like worked through it and we like communicated a lot, and I think like it was. I mean, like so that's my answer.
But it was fine.
It was fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a channel on my Discord server called Ask the Guest. Anyone who's part of my Patreon community, y'all can chime in and offer questions for the guests of the show. So if it's a good question, you know, wish it was my idea. And if it's a bad question, it wasn't me.
Who the fuck is this? Boom.
Yeah. So Chuck wanted to know, does he enjoy pissing off the guys who would be pissed off by the things he suggests? It seems like you enjoy it.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it.
Is he worried about being able to pivot away from how to piss off men? I guess, how is he thinking about his career long term?
Great question. Yeah. I worry about it a little bit, but at the same time, there's so many people on the internet, and you know, like, I make a YouTube show called Rabbit, and I get recognized for Rabbit about half as much as I do for How to Piss Off Men, which is crazy because the numbers on How to Piss Off Men are way higher. But I think maybe like the second most often thing I hear is like, oh, I love Rabbit.
Rabbit's the TaskRabbit thing?
Yeah.
I heard you, it was a couple years ago, so I didn't know if it would come up. I was listening to a podcast and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I was like, I gotta check that out. That's on YouTube?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
I'm making more of it now, so it's very much like on the brain. But I think before I was on the internet, this is funny because like I think like on the internet, like you just show up doing your content, like people don't really. I have been like an author like pretty much since I was a teenager. Like I have a young adult trilogy.
Oh yeah, that's the other fucking thing about you.
Yeah. And like so like I have How to Piss Off Men, that book coming out.
You should have to be uglier.
Yeah, I
it's
don't.
Not fair.
I was, dude.
I don't believe.
I was the kind of like you know, like I was like 230 pounds and like very short and like bowl cut and like braces and like it was like acne. It was like I went through it. I did go through trenches. I just like now like I just like learned
that answers a whole lot. That explains. I think you have to go through that.
Who writes a fantasy novel? And I'm like, that kid. You know.
But also, who has empathy is like someone who's been bullied and shit for that stuff.
And that could be like I mean like it was never like women beating the shit out of me when I was in middle school. So it's like that maybe
that's why I don't have guy friends. They're the ones who beat me up. The girls made fun of me a little bit, but not as much. You know, I think Shannon Sharp said something really mean and nasty when I was 15. But the boys were the ones in the dorms beating me up.
Was that a real name that you pulled?
Oh yeah,
I could feel it. I was like, wait a minute.
I came back for varsity football preseason. I went to a boarding school, and so I get there and I'm walking through. My mom left, and all my stuff's in the dorm, and I'm walking through the parking lot. And Shannon, who's there for preseason soccer, she just said, "Billy is," because obviously we haven't seen each other all summer. She goes, "Billy, is that you? Man, you got fat." And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And I just started starving myself for the next 3 months. Then I passed out during practice. And the
nurse should write her an email, be like,
yo, I don't even know what that woman is these days.
It's as far as like the career long term goes, I just like to make things. And I'm just going to keep making things. I have How to Piss Off Men coming out, this year. I have another book coming out the year after that. And I'll just keep making things for as long as I feasibly can. If the money goes away, I'll get a job and I'll keep doing it. You know what I mean? TikTok exploded out of nowhere. When I was in college, I was like, the only way anyone will really ever know who I am is if I'm generationally talented. You know what I mean? Like if I make it, if I am an actor who people know, or I'm a writer who people know, that's the only way. And it was crazy that TikTok made me famous for fucking nothing really. I got famous for just giving out insults, and I was like, and so it's wonderful and it's interesting. But if all of it goes away and people don't go on TikTok anymore, people don't give a shit about me on the internet anymore. I need everyone to know that my life will be exactly the same. You know what I mean? It won't change the way. I'm not the kind of person who I'm going to have a wound where the attention used to be. I'll be fine.
Okay. And last thing from the group is Tracy. I'm going to kind of twist her question a bit. You say one of your TikToks says that your goal is to socialize emotional violence. What does that mean?
Socialize emotional violence. I think, what that means is, I think in a lot of ways, men have, had the monopoly on abuse in a lot of ways, and I liked the idea of restoring power to the people. You know what I mean? Men have always had the cultural ability to go after women because society was built for men. Mm-hmm. Society was built to empower men. And so one of the things that I have written on my sort of board is your mind is not. It's not in here. Your mind. I'm where's my board? Your mind is a weapon. Keep it loaded. And so the idea of just arming the populace so that if a man chooses to step to it, you know what to say. You have the right. It's
and you can back it up because you box.
Yeah,
actually, great hobby to pick up while doing this.
That's why I fucking do it.
It's great to be able to embarrassing someone is always going to be really powerful, but their fist will still be a fist.
Yeah. And I got my. There's a hefty disclaimer in the front of the book that is the audience, an audience or a crowd is a good audience, but it's also a good armor. You know what I mean? But I've had my ass kicked many times doing field work for this series.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah. And so it's boxing was even I was I should just figure out how to get my head out of the way. You know what I mean? When I'm in my boxing classes, if you watch me, I'm spending most of the time dodging because I'm that's the skill that I need. I don't really throw hands much, but but when I get my ass kicked, I'm that is a successful day of field work. That is the gold medal of
I gotta watch these videos if you're doing. If I can see you get beat up on TikTok.
No.
That doesn't make the edit.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Or is that just Patreon content?
Yeah, that's Patreon content. Yeah. And it's a weird group who subscribes there. But sometimes I'll go to a bar and I'll have an opportunity for a thing you can say to piss off men, and I won't be able to resist it, and I'll do it, and it'll hit a guy the wrong way, and he'll take a swing, he'll hit me, and usually I'm nice. You know what I mean? That's half of it. Talk shit, get hit is a law of the universe. But the only time I've ever been hit,
do you have that on a t-shirt?
I should.
It's a great t-shirt.
Talk shit, get hit is a law of the universe. Yeah,
big bold letters, Run DMC size.
Yeah. The only time I've ever been pissed off that I got my ass kicked was when I was in college. Once a guy hit me at a frat party. And he was in the frat, and he was 5'6".
Now I know where the frat thing comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that might be part of it. And I was I thought about it. I was I'll just destroy this kid. And because I was that's it. You know what I mean? And when I was growing up, fighting was fun. Fighting was something we were even encouraged to do when I was in elementary school. And so I was great. He wants to fight. This will be. Not to sound toxic or whatever. I feel that it might come off that way, but and so he hit me, and I was going to hit him back, and then I remembered that a friend of mine who was in a frat had told me that if you hit a frat guy at a frat party, they will kill you. They will all just gather and they will just tear you to shreds. Yeah. And so I was just kind of I was wow, you hit me because you knew nothing could ever come of this, and I was how lame and small that is. You know what I mean? If you're going to hit me, hit me for real and don't opt out of the second part of this process. Yep. You're denying me the intimacy of fighting you to feel big and strong.
Well, Kyle, you're big, you're strong, you're doing
Thank
great
you.
things, and why don't you got the book How to Piss Off Men. I think we're holding this episode a little later, but where can people go to find you, follow you, check out your stuff?
TikTok and Instagram at Kyle Prue. My web series Rabbit is on YouTube. Type just Kyle Prue Rabbit, you'll find it. And read How to Piss Off Men out in stores at some point around June. Take it with you on the go and socialize emotional violence.
And go maybe get hit.
Not if you're a woman. If you're a man, go get hit. That's good for you.
Fantastic. Kyle, thanks so much for the conversation.
Dude, thank you.
Very fun. Why don't you go ahead and say goodbye to everybody?
Bye, everybody. I hope you have an incredibly slutty month ahead of you.
Longtime listeners know the drill. Stay tuned. I got a teaser clip coming up for you. More of me and Kyle Prue in just a moment. Again, his book, How to Piss Off Men, it comes out in September, is available for pre-order right now. So just go click the link in the show notes. Show dates, people. Show dates. They're not usually in the outro, but, with all that squirting talk, I felt it was more appropriate to put this back here. The next naked comedy shows are going to be on Thursday. On a Thursday? Yeah, on a Thursday. July 18th, 7 and 9 o'clock shows. Tickets will be on sale next week, so stay tuned. Check your emails for that. Los Angeles, I'm coming out to you next month, and I've got a few shows lined up. Visit manwhorepod.com to see where you can see me do some stand-up. Most of it is in, the Hollywood, Fairfaxy area. Patreon is a crucial part of my income, of my revenue stream as an independent comedian, podcaster, content creator. And if you enjoy what I do and the frequency with which I do it, please help keep that happening. I need a little help with the rent next month, so I'm offering a big deal. Again, it's the biggest discount I've ever done. It's 16% off. That's 2 months off of an annual membership. You pay that all up front. I get that money right away. I can go pay my renty. You save some cash enjoying great rewards. Such as tomorrow, my bonus episode with Kyle Prue. That's going to be available at the $5 tier. Please become a member today. Support the pod you love at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. I'm going to play a little teaser clip from that bonus episode with Kyle Prue coming out tomorrow. We talk about the male gaze. We talk about friend zoning. We talk about how all this interior investigation one can do as a man will actually improve your chances of getting laid. We talk about a lot of that and more in the bonus. You're going to hear a little bit of that right now. Otherwise, people, go piss off men, sleep on the wet spot, and stay slutty.
No one's going to love you more for citing your sources, which was a fucking hard thing for me to learn.
Oh, yeah. I thought that would have been my answer.
Yeah.
I actually think that being right and having a prepared argument is going to protect me emotionally.
Yeah.
And I only got that said out loud by a therapist last year.
Yeah. And it's hard. You know what I mean? Okay. And I think when you are in a relationship with someone, you're kind of giving them permission to point a gun at you all the time. You know what I mean? Because they know shit about you that you've never told anyone. You know what I mean? They have access to your private interior life. And that's what makes it great. You know what I mean? It's to really, really be known. But sometimes you're your fucking defenses can turn on. You know what I mean? You go into fight mode and you gotta and for me what it is I gotta hear the feeling, hear whatever the thing is, pause, we're gonna talk about the feeling. We're not gonna talk about my evidence and why I'm right. I remember when I was first seeing my partner, we were talking about something, and we were talking about a friend of mine, and she was like, "Do you guys ever fight?" And I went, "No." And she went, "Why not?" And I went, "I'm not a fun person to fight with." And she was like, "That is a scary thing to say. And I was like, yeah, that did sound scary.
It is. Well, here's the burden of us being right is it's
Yeah.
not fun to argue with us. Because you know what? When I don't know that I'm right, I don't get into the argument.
Totally. You know what I mean? Like, well,
I'm like a boxer rigging his lineup. Be like,
if someone's like, Kyle, you're wrong. And I realize I'm wrong. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like,
wrong.
whoa.
But God forbid I'm right.
Yeah.
You're so fucked.
Yeah.
It's going to be not fun. So